Hey guys, this is Carrie, and in this video we're going to be building a Pokedex. So you may be familiar with the show Pokemon. This is like a super popular show when I was in middle school, but I think it's continued to be popular, and then it became a bunch of games and things like that. So the Pokedex is a scientific list of all of the different Pokemon. And what we're going to do is we're going to be displaying their names, which I've already got as a list for us, as well as the Pokemon's images. So let's get into it. So what we're going to be working with in this project is a new feature of JavaScript that we haven't learned about before, which is a list of objects. So let me introduce briefly a list of objects. So a list of objects, the way you create it is the same way that you create any variable in JavaScript. You would say, and you don't have to code along with this part, students, maybe it's going to be a list of students, equal. And then to set up the list, you use these square parentheses, and we would say Bob, Rob, Bob in quotes. And then the second item after the comma, it's a list, so it's going to be a group of different things. So we'll have one thing here, the next thing, Bob, Rob, and let's see, Tob. All right. So now we've got a list with 3 students in it. And the way that we can access the whole list is we would just type console.log students. And this would give us the whole group. And you can see that this list with 3 items, Bob, Rob, and Tob, comes out in the console right here. If we want to access the length of this list, we could do something like students.length. And it would show us that the length of the list is 1, 2, 3 objects. Now, we might also want to, and this is especially important for our Pokemon app, access individual members of the list. So in this case, maybe we want to access Bob. Now, you might think that to get Bob, you would do students, and then, well, you probably wouldn't think to do this, actually, to be honest, but you might. There's a misconception here is what I was trying to highlight with you might think. But to access individual members of the list, you would put students. And then we use this with strings where we could say get students, square brackets, number 1. And this is where you might have a misconception. Students 1 feels like it should be Bob, but you'll notice that students 1 displays Rob instead. And this is because in JavaScript, lists are started at the number 0. So if we want to get Bob, Bob is 0. So this is the 0th student. The first student would be Rob. And then the second student, very weirdly, 0, 1, 2 would be Tob. All right, so I think this is enough for how lists work. Let's get started on our Pokedex. So I'll zoom back out. Close this, close this. All right, now everybody is not going to have to retype in this list of Pokemon. So what we'll do is we will fork this. So let's just see if I can figure out how to fork it. I think it's easier for you to fork from the link that I gave you. So I'm going to call this Pokedex. And the reason why we're forking it is we don't want to have to all individually type in this list of 150 Pokemon names. So it'll just take a minute to start up here. Checking in the script. Yep, I've got the Pokemon all there. Let's open it in a new tab and let's open up the JavaScript. So we'll see that the fave icon, which is this icon here, fails to load. That's an OK error. We've never talked about putting an icon there. But we'll also see that at the bottom here, we did a console.log Pokemon. And here we have an array, a list of 151 items. And you can see if you click these arrows that the 151 items are actually the Pokemon. Oh, I guess I put 151 items because it has Mew. Okay, cool. So from number 0. So if we wanted to, I don't know, let's see. If we wanted to access Venusaur, this would be 0, 1, 2. Venusaur should be Pokemon 2. Let's see if that works. Let's go Pokemon, and then number 2. Yeah, it's Venusaur because 0, 1, 2. Okay, so let's start to build our Pokedex. Not version control, sorry. We want to click on the files. I'm going to create the template that we're probably pretty familiar with here, which is we're going to have a div in the center of the screen that contains all of the content. So I'll make a div with a class of content. And as long as this blue bar is up here, you can press tab to autocomplete. Now we'll go inside of the div, and we're going to put, I guess I'm thinking a couple of things here. We'll have an H1 that says Pokedex. Then we'll have a paragraph with the Pokemon's name. And let's see, what will be the Pokemon's name? I'll just put name to... Actually, no, you know what? We'll start with Bulbasaur. And then we're also going to have an image. And this is going to change from one Pokemon to another Pokemon. So let me grab this image of Bulbasaur. And I just Googled something random here. And I Googled Pokemon images by index number. And I got super lucky. Because in this website, if I just change the Pokemon number from 0 to 2, it will give me Ivysaur. Then Venusaur. I think this will be Charmander. Sweet, awesome. So let's go back to 1, which is Bulbasaur in this case. So I'm just going to make the source of the image Bulbasaur. And let's take a look to see how this looks. All right, it looks pretty good. We've got all the content here. It hasn't been styled at all. So let's start to style it. I'm going to pull this tab off like we usually do. Off to the side. Oh, off to the side here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. All right, so we'll go into the style.css. In order to make the div visible, I'm going to give the body a background of red. Oops, not hashtag red, just red. And I'll give the content a background of, I think the Pokedex is like red and yellow, but yellow. And you guys can choose better colors, obviously. Let's see how this looks. Okay, great. Because the content is the div that contains everything, I'll do a text-align center. Looks pretty good. And then the last thing that maybe there's a couple more things that we could do is we can make the width of the div fixed so that it's like nicely in the center. So let's make the width something like 600 pixels. Refresh it a couple of times. That looks pretty good. I really hate this font, so I'm going to go up here and I'm going to use the global selector, which is Shift 8 for the asterisk. And then we'll make the font family. I'm going to use one of the built-in fonts so I don't take time, sans serif. All right, that looks better to me. I want to center this div, so I'll put a margin auto onto the div, which should auto-calibrate the distance on the sides so it's centered. I'll add some padding to this of, I don't know, 10 pixels, so we have some room to breathe up here. And then I'll do a border radius, not border, border radius of, I don't know, let's try 20 pixels. Cool, and box shadow, like we usually do. I'd usually just do 1 pixel, 10 pixels, RGBA, 0, 0, 0, 0.5, or 0.3, I don't know. Let's see how that looks. Okay, cool, it looks a little bit more 3D, which I think is really nice. All right, so I've got my Pokedex set up, and I guess the way that now I'm imagining the functionality of this to work is that it's an image slideshow, so that it's going to go through this list one Pokemon at a time, and maybe every second it will shift to the next Pokemon. So things are a little bit more complicated here. Let's see. So when we did console.log, it gives us the whole list. We're going to worry just about the name first. So now I'm going to do console.log Pokemon 0. And maybe you can guess which Pokemon will come up for Pokemon 0. So here's the whole list. And I'm going to be looking mostly at the console for a second. Okay, so Bulbasaur comes up, so that's great. And then if we wanted to make it the next Pokemon in the list, we would just have to raise this number by 1, so that now 0, Pokemon number 1 would be Ivysaur. Next would be Pokemon 2. Takes a second to load, Venusaur. All right, so when we're talking about having an image slideshow that changes over time, this is actually something that's repeated over time, right? We're just going to display different Pokemon names and images every second. That should remind us of a tool that we've talked about, which is the set interval loop. So I'm going to start off with the set interval loop. And then the function that we're going to run repeatedly, we'll write later. And the last thing here is to put after the bracket for the function, or sorry, not the bracket, the curly bracket for the function is the amount of time until it repeats. So I'll do it every second. So here what we'll do is we'll do console.log Pokemon 0. And so what will happen now, this is just the template, is that every second it's going to log Pokemon 0, which is Bulbasaur. So let's see if that works. Bulbasaur, 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 Bulbasaur. Awesome. It sounds kind of like Bulbasaur, actually, because it just keeps saying the same name over and over again. Or it sounds like DG Khaled, because he just says his name over and over again, too. All right, so let's see. How do we make it change and say different Pokemon? Well, all that we need to change is just this number here. So let's create a new variable called count, and let's let count equal 0 to start. So what we'll do is we'll display Pokemon for count. And that way it will display the 0th, it will do console.log Pokemon, and then count is 0. But after it displays the Pokemon, maybe what we could do is we could say count is equal to the old value of count plus 1. And now what it will do is every time through it will, I guess I should show you. Here, it's not working because I didn't wait long enough for it to reload, but it's going to work. So count is 0, and then every second it's going to log the Pokemon at the position count, and then it's going to say count is equal to count plus 1. So it's going to be 0 plus 1, count will now be 1. And then 1 plus 1, count will now be 2. And because it count goes up 1 each time through, it should display each of the Pokemon every second. So now what we need to do is we need to display this not in the console, but we need to display it here as the name. So that's actually pretty straightforward to do as well. So what we're going to do next is we will select the items on the page that we're going to interact with. And those are going to be the name of the Pokemon and the image. And you'll notice that I didn't give either of these IDs. You could give them IDs to select them, but because this is the only paragraph and the only IMG element on the page, we can just select them using their element types. So I could say let P equal document.querySelector. And then instead of doing a hashtag here, we'll just say select the P-type element. No hashtag, because it's just selecting it by the type. And then we'll also say let IMG equal document.querySelector. And then we'll select the thing with the type of image. And it doesn't have an ID as well, because it's just using the IMG type or P type to select those. All right. So, cool. All right. The main behavior change here is that instead of console.logging this Pokemon, we want to say, take the paragraph and make the inner HTML of our paragraph equal to the name of the Pokemon. So go to the Pokemon list and grab the Pokemon that's at count number. So in this case, it'll go Pokemon 0, and then count goes up by 1, so Pokemon 1, Pokemon 2, etc. And I'm going to reset this, and now we should see nothing in the console, but we should see that our Pokemon name changes here, which is great. Cool. All right. So then let's see. Lastly, we just have to worry. Ooh, maybe you realize that there's going to be a problem here, which is at some point the count is going to go past 150. And then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to reset it back to the beginning. So if we go past 150, which is Mew, we'll have to go back to Bulbasaur. So the last thing that we can do here is we could just do a check every time, and we could say if count is greater than 150, then make count go back to 0. So to check this out, to see if it works, I'm going to start count off at 145, so that it should be like showing like these last few Pokemon names instead. And then let's see if it goes back to Bulbasaur. Alright, so Moltres, Dratini, Dragonair, Dragonite, Mewtwo, Mew, Bulbasaur. Because once it went bigger than 150, it went back to the beginning here. Alright, so I'm going to put count back to 0. Now let's worry about the image. So the way that the image is going to work is that instead of creating a new image, we're just going to change the source of this image from being this one to being the same link, except with a different number there. So because we're going to be doing that, let's see. I'm going to grab the starter here of this link, and I'm going to create a variable up here, and I'm going to say let link start. Oh, we came up with the Pokemon name. Let link start equal the beginning of this link. So then let's see. I'm going to do console.log, and I'm going to do the link start, which should give us the beginning of the link for the image. Then we want to put the number here. So I'll add the number, which will be count. And it's not going to be in quotes count because we want to add the variable count here. And then lastly, we'll add the symbols .png. And what this should look like in our console is this link right here with the number from our Pokedex .png. And I'll have a couple of problems. Let's see what they are. So here we go. We've got 1, 2, 3. If we click this link, I don't think that's going to work. And the reason why is our link has to have not 1, but 0, 0, 1. Like that. And I'm also noticing a problem here too, which is I should be doing this before the count goes up. So let me cut this out. I'll add some comments here, which is change the name displayed. I'm going to paste that text here, change the image displayed. So now that's pasted there, and I'm going to add a comment here, increase the count to display the next Pokemon. All right, so console.log. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Oh, no, sorry. Here. Okay. So the links that are getting displayed are 0, 1, 2, which has that problem, right? It should be 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, not these. So let's... And there's also one other problem, right? Which is the first Pokemon here has count 0. But if I look at Bulbasaur's link, he has count 0, 0, 1 here. So there's two problems here. It should be 0, 0, 1, not 0, 0, 0. So let's take care of that problem first. So what we want to do basically is we want to say the Pokemon, let's create a variable, let Pokemon number, and Pokemon number is always going to be equal to the count plus 1. Because even though our list starts at 0, the images start at 1. So now what we should do is we should change this from count to Pokemon number. So let's see if the first one now, instead of being 0, the first one here should be 1. Yes, it is. Great. So we fixed the 0 problem. So Bulbasaur, the 0th item in our list, will match with the first picture because it's number 1. And then we have to just fill in the zeros. And the number of zeros matters here. So when it's a single digit number, it will be 001 like this, or 004. If it's a double digit number like 17, it will be just 10. So our program needs to be smart enough to tell how many digits our number is, which is really easy to program. It's just a couple of if statements here. We could say if Pokemon number is less than 10, then what we want to fill in is console.log the link start, but before the Pokemon number, because it's one digit less than 10, we'll add in 2 zeros and then the Pokemon number. All right, in the case that our Pokemon number is less than 100, we want to do basically the same thing, but we've got all the single digit cases here. Oh, Pokemon number, not Poke number. So if it's less than 10, it will go into this one. Otherwise, if it's less than 100, so in the cases that's 10 to 99, we want to add 1 0. And then if our Pokemon number is anything else, we want to just do a console.log of the Pokemon number. Let's see if this works. So it should be 001. Cool. And after 10 seconds, this should display from this if case 010. Nice. Awesome. All right, let's click to see if these links work. So I'll just click on it. All right, sick. That worked. Let me check out this one. Sick. It works. Okay, great. So we're in really good shape here. All that we need to do is, instead of logging these links, we need to make our image have a source that's these links. So let's see if this works. What we're going to do is we're just going to change from console.log here. We'll delete that. And then the parenthesis at the end. And we'll just say image.source is equal to that. And here we'll do the same thing. We'll delete the console.log. We'll delete the parenthesis at the end. And we'll say image, which references the image on the page, dot source is equal to this. And here we'll do the exact same thing, which is image.source is equal to this. All right, so let's close the console down. Oh no, I'll leave the console open. And we can see that our Pokedex slideshow is working really well. Now there's a couple of things to check. Let's just wait until we hit Pokemon number 10. I'm not sure which one. Oh, number 10 was like a Pidgeotto, right? Because we saw that image and that was right. Okay, cool. So that looks good. So it's always a good idea to check your code. So I'm just going to check my code with a couple of problematic points. So I'm going to start at count 9, and I'm going to see if it works. So Caterpie, Metapod, Butterfree, Weedle. Oh no, Pidgeotto was number 17, right? Or Pidgey, I don't know which one that is, some pigeon thing. All right, cool. So it looks like the transition from single to double digit is working very well. All right, let's check the higher number one. So let's start at number 95 and see if this works. So 95, okay, is Drowsy, Hypno, Krabby, Voltorb, Electrode. I'm not sure who Pokemon number 100 is. Let's just see who Pokemon number 100 was. Oh, Voltorb, okay, or Electrode, or something like that. I don't know. I think it's Voltorb. All right, cool. So that's good. And then let's check out, it happens at the very end here, so 145. So I want to see if it goes from like Moltres to Mew all the way back to Bulbasaur. Let's see. Moltres, Dratini, Dragonair, Dragonite, Mewtwo, Mew, back to Bulbasaur. Sick. All right, so our Pokedex slideshow completely works. I'm going to change count back to 0, and hopefully this gave us a fun opportunity to work with a new JavaScript item, which is lists, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.